Who is the real Erika Kirk?
Sex sells, babe.
Sex sells.
Wow.
That's me.
I've spoken with classmates, past boyfriends, and people are generally bewildered as to why Erika is now publicly representing
Charlie's supporters. The issue isn't that people change. The issue is whether the transformation reflects genuine growth or a calculated repositioning to fit a new audience and a new power.
Erika believed she had everything under control after removing insiders at TPUSA who might have revealed uncomfortable details about what was happening behind the scenes. But according to new claims circulating right now, the situation may not be as contained as she expected. Some sources say the latest concerns are not coming from a random former worker this time. Instead, the talk online suggests it could allegedly involve someone much closer to her circle. People are claiming that a longtime friend may be preparing to speak out about internal decisions and power struggles inside the organization. Critics even argue that Charlie may have been treated more like a strategic piece in a larger plan to gain permanent control of TPUSA. At the same time, the environment inside the organization has reportedly been tense as the new leadership carries out what insiders describe as serious house cleaning. Staff members have been dismissed left and right, and according to sources, many of those individuals were known to be loyal to Charlie. Some reports even claim Erika mentioned wanting to remove what she referred to as Charlie fans from the organization. One story that caught a lot of attention involves Aubrey Locke, an employee who had worked there for 4 years before suddenly losing her position over something that sounds almost unbelievable. A taxi ride. Yes, a taxi ride. According to the account being shared, the situation started when a high-ranking member of TPUSA got into a cab.
And what was told to me was that a Turning Point executive got into an Uber one day and they randomly just kind of started talking about Turning Point. And the executive asked the driver, what do you think about Turning Point? And the driver proceeded to tell the Turning Point executive, well, it's just really sad. I've heard the organization's really going downhill. There's not really a direction and nobody likes Erika. And the Turning Point executive proceeded to ask this Uber driver, well, who told you that? And the Uber driver told the Turning Point executive that his daughter was good friends with a girl that worked at Turning Point way back when in high school. They had spoken about Turning Point since Charlie's assassination, and that, this was told to him by his daughter. And the Turning Point executive, of course, asked, well, what's the employee's name? And the Uber driver allegedly said, Aubrey. Aubrey who? Aubrey Leitch. And the story was presented to me as one of the reasons for my termination.
As drivers often do, the driver began making small talk and mentioned that his daughter had a friend who worked at the organization. What seemed like a casual conversation quickly turned into something much bigger. According to the story making the rounds, one comment led to another during that taxi ride. The driver reportedly said that his daughter's friend, someone connected to the organization, mentioned that many staff members were not happy with the NUS management. And apparently, that was all it took for things to escalate. The dots were connected, fingers started pointing.
Have so much to do, which is exciting. Charlie in heaven is like, you guys thought you had a busy schedule then, just you wait.
And the employee was identified. Just like that, Aubrey was suddenly out of a job. Now pause for a moment and think about this situation. Most people talk about their jobs after a long day. You get home, sit down with your partner, a friend, or family member, and you share what happened at work. That kind of venting is simply human nature. It is not some secret operation or undercover leak. It is everyday conversation. And when you consider the pressure inside the organization after the shocking event involving Charlie that shook the entire group, emotions were already running high. Staff were reportedly expected to jump right back into work without much time to process everything. In that kind of environment, it becomes completely natural for employees to share frustrations with people they trust outside the workplace. So this raises a serious question, people. Online keep asking, is the new leadership at TPSA now trying to monitor what employees say, even in their private lives? Because if someone can lose their job over a secondhand comment mentioned during a random taxi conversation, critics say that sends a loud message about how—
And they started singling out people, and they would pull them out one by one to go outside and smoke like a cigarette. Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, hey, what are your views on Israel? And I just told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least. And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about, Mossad and, Israeli forces? And I was like— they're all right, yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of it, Israeli groups and forces? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, and you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5.
Tightly, information may be controlled inside the organization. Reports shared by Candace also claim that some executives have been calling employees into private meetings and asking where their loyalty stands when it comes to Erika. According to those accounts, the atmosphere inside the group has started to feel tense and uncomfortable for many staff members. In another situation that raised eyebrows, one former employee said the organization's in-house legal representative showed up at her personal home to inform her that she was being let go. She was reportedly instructed not to delete anything and was asked to hand over her company laptop immediately. And then there is another story that caught attention.
Amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president. And you have amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine.
One young employee believes she was heading into a meeting to receive a bonus after the team worked non-stop during AmFest and continued working hard after the tragic event involving Charlie that shook the organization. Instead, she says the meeting turned into a termination with no explanation provided. She later shared concerns that the organization might have placed monitoring software on company laptops, though that claim has not been confirmed.
Yes, we did. I love you. You have to laugh about it, truly. I have been called every single thing, and you know what? God is so good, you let it roll right off your back. And this is what's so beautiful about this moment, because if the internet wants to clip it, who cares? I love this woman. She's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord, and words are words, but I know her heart, and it doesn't even matter. And you say what you want to say because I know your heart. And I will not judge that.
According to one account, the situation escalated because the night before, the employee had messaged another Turning Point staff member saying she was not a fan of Erika's leadership style. That single comment reportedly came back to haunt her. Critics now say the expectation inside Turning Point USA appears to be total loyalty to Erika, with no room for disagreement or criticism. And that raises a big question people online keep asking. What exactly are they trying so hard to keep under wraps? Some observers point to the growing online discussions about Turning Point USA's finances, especially after Charlie had reportedly been pushing for internal reviews and greater transparency before the tragic event that later shook the organization. Those conversations have fueled speculation about what might have been uncovered. Others have gone even further with theories circulating on the internet. One claim suggests
how getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than...
I think you're a bright light in a very dark place.
So let's go grab a mojito.
How she never dated.
I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was.
Possibility that outside interests may have gained influence within the organization. While there is no confirmed evidence supporting those claims, the idea has continued to spread across online discussions. Adding to the curiosity, a former employee once shared an unusual story from his very first week working there.
This is how good the Lord is. He knew that because I was not dating in New York City, he knew that in order for me to know that that was my man, he had to blanket Charlie as a job interview.
He said senior members invited the new hires out for what was presented as a welcome gathering, but according to him, the evening took...
That young man, on the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
A strange turn. New employees were reportedly pulled aside one by one and asked a direct question: what are your thoughts on Israel? Not about conservative policy, not about the Constitution, but that single topic during week one before some new hires had even learned where everything was in the building. Some people who heard these stories say the descriptions sound very precise.
I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. and I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person with that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence.
And if those accounts are accurate, critics argue that was not really a welcome party at all. To them, it sounded more like a screening process. That detail alone has left many observers asking a bigger question. Who exactly was doing the screening, and what were they looking for? According to several sources, before the organization's situation took a dramatic
The Lori knew exactly what I needed, which was Charlie. And the Tyler knew that I would have to be sat down and told that it was a business opportunity, and what the Lori knew was probably everything about Charlie.
Charlie Kirk had reportedly been pushing for an internal audit of TPUSA. The idea, they say, was to take a deeper look at the finances, the staff structure, and the overall direction the organization was moving toward. In other words, he allegedly wanted to look under the hood and see how everything was really
He told me if he ever did run for office that his top priority would be to revive the American family. That was his priority.
Whether that audit ever actually began is still unclear. What many people do point out, however, is that after the tragic event involving Charlie that shook the organization, the push for that review seemed to disappear completely.
This week we introduced you guys to Tracy Martin. Remember, Tracy Martin is Erika's best friend for over 15 years. How close are Erika and Tracy? They've done everything together. Tracy says from Romanian Angels. Erika modeled for her clothing brand.
And in its place, critics say a very different direction started to emerge. Erika has reportedly been forming alliances that longtime followers say would make the older version of TPUSA almost unrecognizable. One surprising name that suddenly appeared in the conversation was Nicki Minaj. And if you saw the moment where Nicki called J.D. Vance an assassin during a live stage moment, you already know how unusual things started to look. Many longtime supporters are now saying the organization they are seeing today does not feel like the same TPUSA that Charlie originally built. And for a moment, people are stepping back to look at the overall image of everything that has happened. Charlie Kirk was widely known for valuing a very specific lifestyle and set of priorities. The picture often presented to the public centered around faith first, family first, and staying away from unnecessary spotlight. During the time Charlie was alive, many observers say Erika seemed to match that image perfectly. She appeared reserved, quiet, and supportive, rarely placing herself at the center of attention. But after the tragic event involving Charlie that shook the organization, critics say the public image around Erika appeared to shift almost overnight. Suddenly, she was everywhere, appearing on Fox News segments, speaking on major stages with bright lights and dramatic production, and openly celebrating things like merchandise sales, donation totals, and even large waves of hat orders coming in. To some viewers, it almost looked like someone stepping fully into a moment they had been waiting for. And according to a few people who claim they knew Erika long before her time at TPUSA, that possibility has sparked even more curiosity. This is also where Candace Owens enters the conversation. Candace has reportedly been looking into Erika's earlier background, and according to those discussions, some of the details being shared by people who say they knew Erika years ago have raised more than a few eyebrows. Some people who say they knew Erika years before all of this claim they barely recognize the person they see today. They say it is not the kind of gradual change that happens naturally over time. Instead, they describe it as something that feels carefully constructed. According to those voices, the public image now being presented seems very different from the person they remember. They point to the way Erika often talks about never drinking, never dating, and steering many conversations directly toward faith and personal devotion. Supporters see that as a strong expression of belief, but critics say it sometimes comes across like she wears her faith almost like armor in every public moment. Now, a former close friend of Erika has reportedly spoken out, and that has pushed a theory that some online commentators call the Honeypot theory back into the spotlight. According to that discussion, people have started re-examining an old story Erika once told about how she first noticed Charlie at an airport long before they officially met. In that story, Erika said Charlie looked strangely familiar to her, and her mother, Lori, even encouraged her to go speak to him, but she reportedly decided not to approach him at the time. Now, some sources are claiming that moment may not have been as random as it sounded. According to those claims, Charlie may have been gradually introduced to Erika through mutual connections over time. One name that appears in these discussions is Tyler Bowyer, who some say played a role in eventually introducing them and speaking highly of Erika to Charlie for months, presenting her as someone who would be the perfect partner. The image many supporters once associated with Erika was that of the perfect conservative wife, the kind of partner people believed Charlie had always been searching for. But critics now say the direction of the organization looks very different from the path Charlie once talked about. Since the tragic event involving Charlie that shocked the entire movement, observers claim the leadership style has shifted in ways that longtime followers barely recognize. Conversations about internal financial reviews appear to have faded away, while new projects and high-profile appearances have started taking center stage. Some critics argue that these changes move the organization further away from what they believed Charlie originally stood for. Candace Owens has also weighed in on the situation. According to her commentary, Erika has been shaping the public story around Charlie's legacy in a way that keeps his influence present while steering the organization in a completely new direction. At the same time, reports suggest that several insiders who have known Erika for many years may be preparing to share their own experiences, including someone described as a close friend of more than 15 years, Tracy Martin. All of this has sparked intense debate online. Some people are asking bold questions and sharing theories about whether Erika may have played a larger role behind the scenes than anyone realized. Others believe these ideas are simply speculation spreading across the internet. Now, the biggest question is what you think about all of this. Do you believe Erika's meeting with Charlie was simply coincidence, or do you think there could be more to the story? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you made it this far, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with others, and check out the next video because the story only gets wilder from here.